So today I want to do a little bit of capturing some behind the scenes while I'm also making a little bit of I don't want to say short film, but just testing out some angles because I want to use this little kind of small rig, little arm extension that I bought a while back that, to be honest, I haven't used much and I want to see if I can get creative with it. So let's see what we can make happen. Here is a little bit of the final results and then we'll talk a little bit further about this. Welcome to the behind the scenes, and we're starting right off the bat with the tripod shots just to get a little bit of the establishing shots before starting to get a little bit more creative with using the clamp. I try to put the camera already on this because when I set it down, I'll be able to kind of like free my hands up, I guess, so that I'm able to just go ahead and showcase me grabbing the headphones out. So we're gonna try it out, I guess. So I'm just gonna have to like kind of like almost set it down like that. We're gonna try it out. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. Let's a little bit of authenticity. Now that I kind of added basically the next transition of putting my foot down, I'm gonna do a close-up shot as much as possible of like grabbing the headphones out and then put them in my ear. So the first step will be to do the shot of me taking them out of basically the little capture thingy thing that it has. And then I'll do a close-up of putting them in like one ear and the other kind of style. So we'll see how it goes. So first I want to set up the tripod how I need it to, and then I'm looking at the screen just to make sure that I'm in the frame that I want to have. That's the main thing for me, is using the screen as much as possible to kind of have the right angle, the right lighting, since I'm using natural light, and especially just up at the action that I want to change into for the next setup. And that's just basically it right here, how I'm showing you how I went from one to the next. So now that we have our essentially establishing kind of shots, we're going to go ahead and now make our way more into the road as I walk over there, just to kind of do more like establishing shots in the sense of going to the street with the board and the headphones and listening to music. And then from there, we'll just see what happens. But my main thing is going to be just kind of get a couple different types of angles. Sometimes I try to do maybe the same like setup going forward, maybe 5 to 10 times, depending on what I'm trying to do, how fast I want to get there. So my goal is going to be to do basically kind of walk across that way, since the sun is on that side, get the sun behind me to add more on the shadow side, and see if I can get creative with it. And then once I get to the road, kind of ride the board around a little bit and get different types of angles from it using the clamp itself, for like kind of showcasing my feet and everything, and then see if I can get other creative shots with it, and then obviously do my static shots with like the tripod and things of that sort. This is a part where you're just probably going to not enjoy it sometimes because you have to do the same action over and over. Sometimes you get lucky where you don't have to do it multiple times, and that's what I try to do as much as possible. Get different POV types of shots or anything that I can have for a perspective, and just go ahead and get as much footage as I can. There's never too much footage in my opinion. It's better to have remainder footage that you might not use than to miss a shot whatsoever or think that you have to do some reshoots, which that always sucks. Thing like finding anything to be a tripod, I use the case, it's under there, so I can use it to basically just get a shot of the wheel, but gotta do anything to get the shot. See, the good thing about having, this microphone, I can try to hold it as close as possible so we don't pick up as much noise, but since we are just filming this, I'm just gonna be doing sound design anyway, so it doesn't really matter that there's the good old people working on the lawn care. They gotta do their job, but I just gotta do mine and just make the movie. And this is my cool little setup of, if it's stupid and it works, then it's not stupid. Just kind of did a little bit of a simple shot that turned out pretty cool in my opinion. And just go ahead and just start, moving around now, adding my tripod at the end of it so I can ride out there and continue the shots that I'm trying to frame together. So as you see, it's just a little bit of just shots to make it a little bit more cohesive together. So as I make myself go all the way to the street, now I can put that little clamp to go onto the board, do a couple kind of shots to make it more creative, and see if I can do like a little bit of just basically doing shots that shoots to the shoe, maybe some upward ones. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to use the ZV-E1, because it's a relatively light setup as well with the 20 to 70 Sony. So I can have a little more range with just one lens and kind of go from there. And I can use also the dynamic active stabilization if needed. So it's kind of nice. So hopefully it won't be too kind of like the vibration of it, because even with the dynamic active stabilization, the road isn't as smooth, but we're just gonna have to test it out all for the shot. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't look perfect, it'll be okay. So essentially how this works is just I put it to the side of it, and I'm just going to use a clamp to kind of find angles with it and see if I can make it look nice in camera, obviously as much as possible. And because of the dynamic active stabilization, even shooting at 20 is going to crop in a bit. So I'm just going to have to kind of figure out what I want to do, if I want to do more frontal or to the side. But for now, we're just going to do the kind of angle from the front sideways and see if it looks cool. Now we're setting up the camera here with the SmallRig arm just to kind of have it focus on my feet as much as possible. And we're going to test it out on the pavement since it's a little bit of a rough pavement, just to see how it turns out. So I got the first shot with it more frontal. I'm going to just vary it now and kind of put it all together that way, and then also do the more static shots with the tripod. But for now, we'll just keep moving it around so I can have different angles. If I use them all, I use them all. If I don't, I don't. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, one of the biggest tips is always going to be to get multiple angles from the same action, just so you have a lot of different angles that you can come back to if you want to change it up, or just do like a little bit of a montage if needed. And that's what I'm kind of doing with this clamp. The cool thing is it's very easy to release from the clamp part and not having to mess around with the arm itself. So I don't have to necessarily always move the arm itself. It's just unclamping it and clamping it. So I can go ahead and just go off to shoot and get the video that I need to from this angle, and just get as much as I can for footage. So I tested out with the clamp only and the little extender arm right there from SmallRig, but now I want to test it out with my gimbal to see if it'll stabilize it more, since I did notice that it was very jittery. But I want to try to see if I can get some smooth shots of myself looking up, but then also some smooth shots that I can find. But I'm okay with having the jittery kind of part right now so far with the kind of like the extender arm to, I guess, but I'm okay with kind of having that extender arm kind of just looking a little bit more jittery, kind of the shots, just because it adds like the realism to it. But we're going to see if we can use it with the gimbal on this. It's a little, weird setup, but I think we can make it work. This was actually a first for me to use a stabilizer gimbal on a board like this. So it was kind of creepy to use because I didn't want anything to fall. So I was trying to be as careful as possible and just trying to let the gimbal do its thing to stabilize it. So I tried not to go as fast as I could have, because in reality, I didn't want it to fall off or anything. I wanted to play the safer route. I think with it, using it, on the board, it's nice, but then I wanted to do a little bit more from like the handheld perspective, just to do a little bit of movement. Since it's just focusing on my feet, I can kind of do a little bit of angles going around and everything like that, even like that self angle if needed, just to try to get something that I could use for, more movement shots, as well as doing a little bit of a kind of like circling around just to add the movement when it comes down to filming. But with all that movement, it just, you have to kind of tinker around with angles and see what comes up with it to make it nice of a shot. Now we can go back to some nice little tripod shots, because it's good to have some static shots within the mix of movement, just to kind of get a different feel of things when it comes down to filming. At least I like to say that I like to do variety, because if I use it all, then it's great. But if I don't have all the variety needed that I might not need, then it's okay as well. But at least I'm trying out different angles and go with the music and the vibes of the video itself to see what will make sense the most. And just, here setting up tripods just to get the last bit of action so that I can go ahead and finish the video and get everything from the behind the scenes for you guys to see, so that you can enjoy the video itself. So those were the behind the scenes and the final results that you got to experience with bringing you for the behind the scenes of how I would shoot just myself. It's always awkward to, do videos of yourself, especially if you're surrounded by people that maybe you don't want them to know that you're doing maybe YouTube videos or anything of that sort, like how I had to deal with my neighbors and people just driving down my street. But at the end of the day, you just kind of have to not care. It's good to experiment and try different methods and everything like that to get creative with your shots. And that was the whole point of trying out with the SmallRig and the clamp that it has over there, as well as trying it around with my gimbal and just trying to be as creative as I could with the gear that I have available, because I decided to buy this whenever I just saw a couple of videos online and I wanted to test it out to see how I could incorporate it into my videos to make it more, you know, interesting whenever I go ahead and do kind of more of the videography, kind of cinematic type of videos that I want to do more often, especially on the channel where I want to do, you know, push my skills and everything like that to showcase what I'm learning and everything so that it becomes more attractive to look at and everything. But at the end of the day, I think it was a really cool kind of experience to be able to use this. Never really used it on a board before, so it was kind of interesting to test it out because it was shaky. Obviously, even with the dynamic active stabilization of the ZV-E1, I even tried it out without it just to see what would work better. And I think for the most part, kind of worked out better without it, because with the compensation of the dynamic active stabilization of the ZV-E1, I felt like it was trying too hard to kind of like figure out how to like stabilize it, that it just didn't work out its best. It didn't look as authentic. So without it having it, it kind of felt like it did a little bit better. And I don't know. I mean, both ways kind of worked out for depending on what you're trying to do. And for me, it worked out anyway because I wanted to have a little bit of a wider setup with shooting at 20 millimeters. And if you do the dynamic active stabilization, it tends to just obviously crop in. So sometimes I didn't want to have that. I wanted to have a little bit more of the establishing shot kind of, you know, field of view with the wider lens. But yeah, it was kind of cool to try it out with the gimbal as well. It's not as convenient because if you're trying to do anything regardless, like kind of your shoes, you have to shoot downwards. Since I wouldn't be able to kind of put it out and then shoot down, I would have to figure out a way to do that. And I ain't got the patience for that right now. But overall, it was kind of fun to do this and to test out some different angles and shots and everything. So hopefully you enjoyed it and you learned something new with me, because I learned something new. So if you're trying to do anything with this, obviously pick a better road than mine apparently, because mine is has a lot of imperfections, so it doesn't let you have a smooth footage. Probably would have worked better if I had like maybe like a skate, you know, place where like the ground is a lot smoother, because obviously my garage, the ground is a lot smoother than the road, but it is what it is. You live and learn and you just have fun with it. And, you know, you're here, so appreciate that. But with all that said and done, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.